Hello, everyone. Welcome to It's Sybil. I am Sybil Wilkes, and today I got my girlfriends here. I have friends from a previous life and still friends, colleagues from a previous life, I should say, and still girlfriends here. And we are going to talk a little bit about a woman that we mentioned earlier this week. All of us had a friend and colleague in Tonita Myers. Tonita Myers was our friend from Reach Media. Some of these ladies from Reach Media, the Tom Joyner Foundation, and all had interesting relationships with Tonita, who admittedly was not an easy person to know or to love or to work with sometimes. She was a challenging woman. But here's the thing about Tonita Myers, she was a force to be reckoned with. She came in, I bet you she came into the world the way she has come into the offices with many of us on many a day at Reach Media. And that was like a ball of fire. There was nothing low key about Tanita. There was nothing mild mannered about her. She lived life out loud and to the fullest. And we wanted to celebrate that today. Unfortunately, we're celebrating a life well lived, not one that is still in process. And this is something that I wanted to point out is that we should be giving flowers to our friends and our families while they're still here. It is unfortunate that we have come to this place where our friend gone much too soon. We should be giving her flowers now, but unfortunately, her as a live woman, but unfortunately, that is not to be. Tonita Myers, just to give people a little bit of insight, we talked about her in our What You Need to Know newsletter. If you have not subscribed to the What You Need to Know newsletter, may I invite you to do so. It's absolutely free, and it's a Monday through Friday newsletter. We'll have it in your email box first thing in the morning, and please go to sybilwilkes.com. Uh, Tanita Myers preceded for us whatever segment of life we're in, whatever station we are, whatever jobs we have right now. Our friendships and our business relationship with Tanita preceded where we are now. I came to know Tanita about 15 years ago when she joined Reach Media. She had been at the local affiliate, but Tanita has spent her professional life in radio. She is a true radio woman. She left us as the vice president of news operations at the Black Information Network. That's BIN. And as a Reach Media executive, she spent many years doing things such as working with the Tom Jordan Morning Show. That's where I came to know her, as well as the Ricky Smiley Morning Show. She was the director of operations, and she left as the senior director of radio operations at Reach Media. As I mentioned, uh, obviously, the death of Tonita Myers was a incredible surprise to all of us, and gone at the age of what, 48, 49, Kimmy.
49.
This is just not the time. In the middle, in at her ultimate peak, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
should not be leaving us. But I did want to invite friends of ours and former colleagues to come on and share just a memory or two about Tanita Myers, and the woman that many of us may not. Many of you who are watching and listening may not know who she is, but you've heard her voice. Those that listen to my weekend show on Sirius XM channel 141, you'll hear her voice as a part of the intro. That she, when I was working with Tanita on a weekend show, she put that down and we kept it. So that is the voice that you heard, and will probably, I dare say, through the Black Information Network, will continue to hear. So let's start with you, Kim Peters, the Kim Peters, a friend to Tanita, and probably one of the closest
Mm-hmm.
friends from Reach Media and beyond. And so, and I know, first of all, I want to give you my condolences, and I'm sure for those of us who are watching and who are here today, condolences for your loss, because as you called her, your spirit animal,
Mm-hmm.
Tanita Myers was a very special person to you.
Very special. And I want to say thank you first, Sybil, to allowing me to come to share with you today and be a voice for what I hope will be a legacy into Tanita's world. You're a lead in, is often a lead in for women in the workforce when it comes to our personalities And I'm very appreciative that the comments that you made were made, because this is what I wanted to talk about and that I wanted to share with everyone today as a gift. Tonita taught me to be unapologetic about who I was in the workplace, about my drive, about my motivations, about who I was as a woman and what I wanted for myself and how to demand it and how to be strong, face forward with my thoughts, and then to walk away
Mm.
and laugh and in reflection, not even think twice about the decision that I made. Oftentimes, with men who are very aggressive, men who are straight line when it comes to being in the workplace and demanding their net worth, demanding their voice to be heard, we don't use terms as difficult. We don't use terms as, you know, just hard to get along with, because those are terms that this doesn't matter. And I want to tell you today, to everyone that listens and wants to understand her story, that's just who Tonita was. But at her core, once you got beyond all of those things that were on the outside, all of the things that she demanded, all of the things that she wanted everyone to look, see, and feel when it came to her presence, didn't matter when it came to the core. She was soft. She was kind. She cooked, sorta. You know, she was just one of those friends. I spoke personally with Sybil earlier today, and I said I never wanted to be in the presence of anyone that I felt came for me, because I knew that my spirit person, my sister, it was just straight. That's just who she was. It was bottom line. Like, for who I love, for what I loved, she loved her work and she loved the people that she loved. And for those of you that did not get a chance in the past couple of years, as even I did, or those that struggle with not knowing Tonita because she exited your life, know that if you shared one intimate moment with her, that moment she carried with her. She wasn't one that was, I told her, you have to love me because I love you and I'm emotional. So she gave me that because I whined for it, I yearned for it, I needed it. And I was very selfish with her in that way.
Let me just ask something of you, Kim, and I do want to talk about this. This is one of the things that I really admired about Tanita, as a single mother,
Oh my
and
gosh.
having been raised by a single mom.
Mm-hmm.
I loved her relationship with her son Brandon, and she leaves
Mm-hmm.
Brandon, who is days away from his 21st birthday,
Mm-hmm.
and a brilliant and a lovely young man. Talk about that relationship.
Tanita as a mom, very private, very strong, and very comical.
Hmm.
Often you hear about Tanita and her voice and her smile and her laughter, but she sat and she lived and she thrived off of this relationship that she had with her son, who is so much like her. He sets off and he is done. He is gone. And he's made his decision. Excuse me. So much of what Tanita was when it came to be a mom was preparing him for life independent of her. Always a life that was full and keen when it came to your interest, your demand, your lead in with education. I'm so excited for Brandon, and that this is something that he's very excited about, something that he takes very seriously, and something that we will all rally around him for during this next, I think, year or two, as he continues not only to reach this huge milestone with his birthday, but graduation. You know,
Yeah.
something that I know that Tanita has always looked forward to, that I look forward to. Her relationship was one that just gave guidance, that gave independence, and expected greatness out of him.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Kim.
Thank
Jada,
you.
talk about your relationship with Tanita and what you want people to know and what you'd like to remember about her.
Absolutely. So, thank you for inviting me here. When I think about Tanita, I always think about what I would say to her first, which was, "Why are you so loud?" Like that would be the first thing. I would hear her walking down the hallway, and she's
You
like,
can,
"Jada," and she would that would be the start of our conversation every time. But I loved it. Like you all have previously mentioned, she walked into a room and owned it, and that's something that resonates with me. But she took it to the next level. So I really aspired to have that level of confidence. I mean, for me, it was the level of confidence to really walk into spaces and know that sometimes most times you're ruffling feathers. Most times people are, here go Tanita, but guess what? Tanita got things done. She was very dependable. She was hardworking. She was always one that could, you know, video that I shared with Sybil that Roland even shared it was December of like 2016 maybe. She was filling in. It was, she was filling in for the producer on the Tom Joyner morning show. And so I'm like, she was always ready to fill in and help out wherever, because like you mentioned in her bio, she's done it all, right? So she's already had experience doing it all. So for me, I just really took away really owning a room, being confident and comfortable, being okay in your space and your skin and who you are. And when you mentioned her son, I would sit in her office, in between hiding from Oscar, and would meet with her. That's a joke, Oscar. But I would sit
No,
in her
it's not.
office, and I would sit in her office and just hear her talk about her son. I love their relationship. I was always very intrigued of, like you said, Kim, of how she really prepared him for life, and how she just, oh yeah, Brandon, he's like a whole adult. She was like, he's practically raising me. I remember, that she would say that. And so very fascinated before I was, ever thought about really focusing on having children, but that really stuck with me in that relationship she had with her son. So I am forever grateful for our relationship. It could be random. I would text her and just tell her I was thinking about her. And literally weeks ago we were emailing, and she was like, Jada, via email, but I literally heard her voice through the email. And so such a great loss, a tremendous loss, but I hope that we are able to really take away so much from her life and from her legacy and continue to carry it along the way.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for that, Jada. Erica, Cason, talk to us a little bit. I'm sorry, Kira. Kira is watching us today, and Yolanda, can you go back to that? I thought I saw Kira's comment. No one outworked Tonita. I mean,
Period.
nobody. And that's the truth.
Period.
That's the truth. You come in and Tonita would be there. You'd leave and you come back the next morning. She would be there. It was like, when do you go home? When do you live? Erica, talk to us a little bit about Tonita.
I honestly have to echo everything that has been said. Tonita was a force. She was a mood all by herself. She was a vibe. And Tonita was that friend that no matter what, you could count on, which a lot of people didn't know and understand. Another friend of ours, Marla, said it well. So many people didn't really know Tonita. And those of us that did have the privilege and were blessed to know her on a different level saw that inner core, that kindness, that generosity. And that was just Tonita. She was loud. You heard her coming, the jingling. You could smell her coming, her perfume, but you knew you were about to smile and laugh when she popped in your office. Her smile alone forces you to smile. It was always big. It was always bright. And Brandon was her joy. Her mom and Brandon were what kept her grounded and connected, because she was a workaholic. She was a workaholic, but I remember Brandon as young as 4 and 5 being able to hold full on adult conversations like it was nothing. And I would tell her, he is destined to be great because you're great. And she would be like, absolutely, yeah. And that was just her Brandon. And so it's such a pleasure to see where he is today. He is brilliant. He is handsome. He is handling his business. I mean, he's a boss chick's baby. So I don't think anyone expected anything less. And I will never forget one of my fondest moments, and I have many and have been poring over pictures and just reminiscing. But after my kiddos were born, Tonita brought me hangers, like literally a bag full of like 50 hangers to work. And I'm like, okay, people are dropping off formula, diapers. She brought hangers. When I tell you, guess what we still have? Hangers. And I've been able to pass them on to other friends and sisters that have had babies. That was Tonita, practical and loving and kind and generous. So it is a huge loss. It hit hard. I think many of us had kind of just become disconnected after she left Reach. And, we've all kind of gone into different facets of life, but you don't forget when somebody touches your heart and touches your life.
That's right. That's right. Kelly, we're going to give you the last word. Your thoughts on Tonita Myers.
Yeah, I can't say much more than anyone else has said.
Tonita, like Arca said, was a movement by herself, but she understood the power of being a team and working hard together. One of my favorite things about Tonita, not only was it her email signature, but she also said it when she would walk away from you. She would say, "Enjoy the balance of your day."
That's exactly. That's how I was going to close this, Kels. You're absolutely right.
so I still own that, and I think I hear everyone saying, and Kimmy said it, and Arca, about how Tonita was who she was at work, but was such a loving person outside of work. And what Tonita did was she chose who she gave herself to, and that was, I felt so honored to be one of the people that she gave herself to. Jada mentioned how she used to go in her office and hide. Tonita would actually come to my office to hide.
Because you had an office with no windows, no nothing. And so
awesome.
you could
I
very
had an
easily
amazing
close
office.
the door. Yeah.
I will say that's the biggest thing I missed when I transitioned. But one thing that we would do together is if we needed to cry together, we would cry. Or if she just needed to laugh at something that she felt like no one else wanted to laugh about, we would crack up and then go about and be, poised in what we needed to be. But the other thing that Tonita did was people who may have felt marginalized or may have felt like they weren't being heard, if she was in that space and saw it happening, not only would she stand up for them in that space, in that moment, she would come to you after and say, "Listen, I heard you." And she would help you to convey your message, or just let you know, "I'm here, I hear you, you are heard." And I think that's going to be Tonita's legacy. Part of her legacy is being heard and being loud and being unabashedly herself. And she's great.
Ladies, I couldn't ask for a better crew to come in and talk about this woman, Tonita Myers, who, as I was going to say, was just one of a kind. And what I want to leave with us is not only that she rest in peace and rest in love, that she got from so many of us, but I hope that we leave with the opportunity to make people understand how special they are in our day-to-day lives, and not wait till a situation like this, unfortunately. I'm very sorry for your loss, each and every one of you, and go out there and enjoy the balance of your lives. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Sybil.
God bless you, Tonita Myers, and God bless you, Brandon.
Yes.
All right. We're going to make a transition here, if you will. And I did want to tell you that we are going to talk a little bit about the power of girlfriends and the power of the sisterhood. I will tell you, as we add one of our girlfriends here, filmmaker, executive producer, Erica Taylor is joining us. But I do want to share with people, I have fought most modern technology, simply because I'm an old school radio girl. All this streaming stuff and all of that we are called upon to do. But one of the things that I don't like to do is text bad news. And this particular 2 weeks that we've been through, when Tonita was hospitalized, when she was on life support, and the subsequent transition, that's how we communicated. And there was a group of us on the text that talked every day or every morning or every other, whenever there was an update about Tonita. And I know that it's necessary, but this isn't the way that I want us to communicate about a life and a person. And so, and I think back to, years and years of leaving messages on answering machines. But what it did was, this was our link to a new stage in our lives. I don't know about the rest of you, but I've reached the age where I've lost half a dozen friends in the last couple of months. And my mom told me it would come to this, but there's nothing like the power of girlfriends. And what I want to talk about is the importance, no matter where you are in your life. And Kelly, you as the youngest, me as the oldest, and Erica and Arica spread there in the middle. the importance of checking in and checking up on each other. Thanks to the American Heart Association and our partnership, we have developed checking in and checking up for your health. And that is Tom Joyner's Take a Loved One to the Doctor Day 2.0. But this is really not only checking on ourselves physically, but also checking in and checking up on our girlfriends. And that is what I want to leave with you all and to talk about and leave with you all as we complete this show today, because it's so vitally important. And we're all at different stages of our lives. And we're talking to two married women, a mother, and a young single woman who is, has made a number of location changes and things like that, and me, who's really close to, just wanting to go by the river and or the lake or the sea and drink beer and just have a good life. But we're all at different stages, but we are not disconnected. And that's the really important thing. We have to stay connected and talk about the importance of that. And Arica, I think that you are probably the latest example of that, as you were going through something and we were able to connect with each other and with you, to stay in touch with you, and how much that meant to us.
And it meant even more to me, Sybil. You hit the nail on the head. We are all in different phases of life, and it's hard. It's hard to stay connected. And I hate that the passing and death of Tonita is what has brought Kimmy back into my life, but I'm glad, because you don't realize it's been 3 years or 5 years or 7 years. And we've got to cherish our sisterhoods. Went through a very unexpected, unplanned, out of the blue medical emergency. And I wouldn't have made it through that, Sybil, without you, without Erica, without Kelly, without my sister circle praying for me, being there for me, being there for my children and my spouse. I can't say enough how much I appreciated it and still appreciate it. Just knowing that somebody is praying for you and for your health, mental health, physical health, because we forget to prioritize ourselves when we have jobs that take up 60, 70 hours of our week, when we have husbands who we want to make sure know that they are our priority, even with the, 60-hour work week, when we have children who are at different stages of their life and need that constant attention and affirmation and sense of belonging. Mine are tweens, so they really need that. It's not about me. It can't be about me. There will be seasons where it's about me again. And y'all know, I kicked it. I kicked it hard. I lived my life. So I have no regrets that this season is not about me, but it is about my sisters. It is about making sure that I nourish those relationships and those friendships, that I give back everything that I'm getting, because I get so much and you've got to be able to give it back. I mean, you and Yogi had flowers show up at my door on one of the days when I was in the most pain. Erica literally showed up at my door, was like, I'm not leaving, so that we could laugh and visit and I wouldn't think about the pain I was in. It takes a village to raise children, but it takes sisters to raise yourself, even as an adult.
Yeah, that's well said. Erica Taylor, came to know and love you as an executive producer for the Tom Joyner Morning Show, as one of the best writers and one of the most creative people I've ever met. And you have gone on to just impress the world with your production skills and your filmmaking skills that are will be on full display, as we will talk about. But talk about that, because not only did your background, coming from Spelman and, sorority life and all of that kind of stuff really lends to the sisterhood, but you took it to another level with many of us.
Yeah. First of all, I'm going to bottle up that introduction you just gave me and save that back here on the shelf. I really appreciate that. And it's an honor to be on this panel with you all. I mean, I'm on the panel with some of my closest friends, my best friend and my sisters. And Kelly, I haven't talked to you in many years, but I miss you, girl. How you doing? so, but yeah, I mean, my background with Spelman, you know, I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. You know, I am all about woman power, sisterhood. It's embedded in me. It's in my DNA. It's in my spirit. I know how powerful my sisters can be and how we can be for one another. So it's nothing that I would ever take lightly. Because girls, you know, I'm just gonna say this, whisper this in your ear. When the men are gone, guess who's left? It's your sister. Yeah, your sisters are the ones that are there with you. They're the ones that are going to cry with you and hold you. And it's important that we have that open dialogue with one another about our health, no matter what's going on. Because not only when you share that information about your health, not only are you freeing yourself of that stress and burden that you're holding on to, whether it's from a diagnosis or for something that's happened to you, but also you're informing your sisters of being on notice about their own health. You're putting them on notice about their own health. You're helping them educate themselves about some health issue that might be female specific. So, you know, it's important that, you know, we rally around our sisters. We have that sisterhood circle and we keep each other close, and that we don't hold things back, thinking that we're going to be a burden to one another. Because again, that's a stress release. You need that stress release. And for me, my sisters have always had a very powerful place in my life. We always joke around and say that Reach Media was like a family, because it was.
It was dysfunctional. It was a dysfunctional family.
And that is the disclaimer that we always put on it. It's a dysfunctional family, but it was a family nevertheless. And listen, Boomerang didn't have anything on Reach Media. We were doing so there was some black power walking around those halls. So, but I'm thankful that my closest friends on this planet have come from Reach Media, and it's a sisterhood that I know will last for decades to come, because we're already pushing almost 30 years here. So let's keep that party going.
Yeah, for sure. Young Kels, as I like to call you, Kelly. One of the things that you and I share are being onlys, single children, 2 single moms, and I wonder where your friendships and your alliances with women, where did that come from for you?
Yeah, that's I was going to mention that too, so I'm glad you brought that up. And what Erica said about not being a burden, for me, it has been a bit of a challenge. Let me say 2 things. I'll answer your question first. Your question was, where did my commitment, where did it come from? And honestly, my mother. I watched my mother's relationships with her girlfriends. Mm-hmm. And if I knew nothing else as a child growing up in Austin, Texas, was I had, as an only child, and my mom only had a brother who was 7 years older than her. I had 100 aunts.
Right.
And so I knew that I had a village, and I knew that if I was angry with my mom, I could go to Aunt Catherine's house. If I wanted to go shopping,
Bob were right there for you
all the time. If I wanted to go shopping, someplace fancy like Tiffany's, I could call Mrs. Bryant. So I knew who my village was, and I saw that at a very young age. And I knew that growing up, I would need a village. I will say, as I became an adult, and like you said, I'm young-ish, single. My core friends started in college, and of course, honestly, with Tonita's situation, we all have reconnected from Reach, but we never really disconnected. We always knew we weren't too far away. And one thing that really stood out for me has stood out for me as I got into my 30s, and my friends were getting married, having children, and I have a beautiful dog and a mom, and that's not the path that I've taken yet. I didn't want to be a burden to my friends. So I am grateful to have a circle of friends who do grab me sometimes by the gruff of my neck and say, "You're not bugging us. If you're going through something, call us." And I'm the same with them. I fiercely love them, and I have to remember that they fiercely love me.
Yeah, I absolutely agree that the one thing that I learned from my mom, who had great friends, was that to have great friends, you have to be a good friend.
Mhm.
And that was something that I grew up knowing. And the day that my mother had her mastectomy, all of her girlfriends were there with me at the hospital. The day that my mother closed her eyes, they were all at our home, there to encircle me. And I knew going forth that, you know, what I had learned at my mother's knee, I was going to be able to carry with me the rest of my life. And I promise you this, and I've said this before, my mom died almost 30 years ago. It'll be 30 years in January. 6 months to that day, Tom Joyner gathered all of us, in a number of us, a few of us, because it was a small group of people, in Jamaica, as we embarked upon the Tom Joyner Morning Show. And 6 months to the day, Yolanda Starks, then Starks, came to the party with her husband, and who I absolutely adored, but I got her in their subsequent divorce. And I got her because of my mom. My mother put her in my life because she knew that I would need someone like that.
Mm.
And so I get it, but I want people to understand, and you guys get it too. But those that are watching and listening, reach out to your girlfriends. They're going to be there, as you said, Erica, when the men aren't. There's nothing like a girlfriend, unless she goes off with your man, but that's a whole nother show. But I want to just leave with people the importance of this. And I'm really glad you all are here, to check in, because I want to have us check in and check up on each other on the regular. Kelly, you know, I do that with your mom. And Lord knows Barbara Jean needs it, but it's necessary that, you know, check in on you and Erica with the kids, and Cortez and Erica, how you're doing in your career, but beyond all of that, how you doing? How
Yeah.
you doing? One of the beautiful moments, or beautiful abilities that have garnered from the Tom Joyner Morning Show is friends along the way, who are professional women. And we are very lucky in this show now that we have put together to expand our group of girlfriends. And one of them is a doctor out of Los Angeles, and it's really kind of a freaky situation. But I'm going to include Dr. Angela Taylor in this. And Doc, if I can just give a little bit of background about you. Dr. Angela Mosby, I'm sorry, I don't know how you tell it. Dr. Angela Mosby, board certified family medicine, urgent care, and assistant clinical professor at UCLA. So, Dr. Mosby, welcome to the Girlfriend Circle. This
Thank
will not
you.
be your last time, but I did want to kind of combine this because I want to talk about girlfriend issues, but I also want you to be that girlfriend to kind of give us some free advice, and talk about some issues that are going on that you can give us some information, and we can go out and spread it to our other girlfriends and guy friends and children and things like that. So welcome, Dr. Mosby. We appreciate you. Dr.
Thank
Angela
you.
is going to be here to talk about things, you guys. And ladies, one of the things that we do in the newsletter, in the What You Need to Know newsletter, every day since the beginning of this horrific pandemic, we have a section on COVID. We give you an update. It might not apply directly to your life, but since 2020, there's been something to talk about every day regarding COVID. And Dr. Angela, we were talking the other night about the subvariants, BA4, BA5, that are now, and according to some of the information, it's spreading, BA5 especially is spreading at such a level that where you are now, they're talking about bringing the mask back, making it a requirement that people wear their masks. So where are we, Dr. Angela?
Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me. It is wonderful to meet all of you through Zoom, and I listen to the stories, and it's beautiful. I mean, I don't even know your friend, but I can feel the spirit through the way you guys spoke of her, and that means everything. And I hope and pray that my friends can speak of me, you know, in that time as well. That was beautiful. So it's nice to meet all of you. Yes, I do work in the wonderful land of COVID. It's certainly been crazy times, but I will tell you right now, we are dealing with a new variant, which is BA.5. And this variant seems to be a little harsher than the ones that we've seen before. I know everyone kind of went through the original COVID, then we went through Omicron, and we went through stealth variant, and some of the variants that we really did not identify publicly. But this variant seems to kind of, to me, mimic the original COVID as far as the longevity and the severity of symptoms, but it's more easily spread. So what we're seeing now is the cases are kind of, honestly, they're climbing so fast. We don't, and now that we've had the fourth, we're in that 15-day window where we're going to really see what this surge is made of. But unfortunately, it looks like we are entering a surge that is going to kind of get back to the numbers that we had in the winter. We're heading that way right now. And we are talking about, as a matter of fact, probably not even talking anymore, but getting ready to implement a mask mandate. That's only going to be for the states that agree to it. It's state by state legislature as far as the rulings. It's not a nationwide requirement or mandate anymore. They won't do that. But in the state of California, we were trying to get through the end of the month, but it looks like we're going to probably get to next week. Based on the numbers. Now, what does that mean? We know we can't put the rabbit back in the hat again. And so we will have nonstop debates and conversation about this, even though we're suggesting it. Whether it's enforceable at this stage we don't know. So, but it is honestly definitely necessary. I'm sorry, sir.
Dr. Mosley, I actually had a question. Sure. So I really think in terms of numbers, because I think the numbers are something that people really jump at when they start seeing the severity, because you can say all day long, oh, it's getting bad, but people, when they see the numbers, you can't deny the numbers. Do you have the actual numbers now of how many people are going to the hospital that are being infected? Are there people still dying from it? Do you have any of those numbers?
So I don't, that's a great question. And I probably should have, I do have, somewhere I have national numbers off the top of my head that I don't, but I can tell you what we've seen. Let me tell you our local numbers, and this may put it in perspective. So we've seen about 20,000 cases in the last week, or since today is now Thursday. In the last 5 days, we were at 18 on Tuesday. I'm going to throw the extra 2,000 in, but I think the final numbers this morning was about 22,000 cases since Saturday. We've had 100 deaths in the past week. We've had, I think about close to 400 hospitalizations, and I honestly don't know what that number is as of today, but the numbers are increasing substantially. And our numbers have actually increased just rapidly in the last 4 weeks, but now it's actually starting to increase even faster because of, things like the 4th of July or just family gatherings or summer trip and travel. So we're starting to see the numbers really increase at a rapid rate. So we'll know for sure, and we'll have a much better idea in about 2 weeks, because we need to get about 15 days past our last events to really see. But they're coming so fast now that I have no doubt that is going to be unfortunate, and they're probably going to end up hitting some astronomical numbers close to what we saw. Right now, we're at the numbers that we saw in February. We just don't want to get back to December, but we don't know.
And just so I'm clear, so you discussed the other variants. We have Omicron, there's Delta. You're saying this is the BA.5. This is a new strain.
This is a new strain.
Okay. Do we know where that strain originated from?
It came from Omicron. So this is a variant of the Omicron strain. So we've kind of come away from the original.
Did it come from Africa?
No, it didn't. No, it came from non-compliance. So at the end of the day, that's really the truth.
Okay. The land of non-compliance.
The land of non-compliance. So, it just came because and honestly, our numbers are so significant in America. It's really embarrassing. It's embarrassing that with all the knowledge and technology and advanced health that we have in this country, we have had numbers that have just literally we're double the numbers of other countries. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think is the most shocking thing. We've been in this place for a while. Even our deaths were higher than most countries in the nation, including third world countries, because we are now entering that arena. So no, it is literally coming because we are, for lack of better words, an entitled nation. We don't, we kind of want to make our own choices. We live in a land of free will. So when we make simple suggestions like mask on planes, then that becomes an issue, and it comes up for debate. We're one of the few countries that turn this into a political battle. So when we have conversations, it always goes back to what side are you on? Well, there's really only one side, and COVID doesn't take sides. So it's
Mm.
just one of those things where we're kind of fighting against the grain and against people's personal biases. So that's why this is still going, and we're giving it an opportunity to just keep, to keep changing and keep mutating.
So, Dr. Mosby, I had a quick question.
Sure.
You mentioned that that our states, this won't be a national mandate. States will have
Absolutely
those decisions.
correct.
If we, I have two questions, so I'll put them both in. So, if we live in a state where we know that there's not going to be any type of mandate put together, how
Hmm.
should we act? How should we act? How should we ourselves work to protect ourselves, our family, and our loved ones? And then also, I have so many friends who may have had COVID at this point twice, and they're like, "Oh, I'm fine," and so they're just going out doing their thing, traveling all over. I mean, I want people to travel. I know we can't live in fear, but what
Right.
would be your recommendations if you do want to continue to live your life, but also want to be COVID cautious?
That's a great question. So you're right, and this kind of goes back. We just can't ask everyone to stop living, and we really don't want them to. I mean, that was really terrible for mental health and a lot of other illnesses. So we don't necessarily need to go backwards. But I will say, take your safety seriously. Wear your mask. If you're going to travel on a plane, you should have on at least the KN95 mask. Every time we get a new variant, those variants can break through the previous barriers. So
Mm.
if we're wearing a regular surgical blue mask, and I see those in an airport, I literally like I walk to the left. I'm like, oh, someone has a cloth mask. And if I see gators, I'm like, ooh, go far to the left. So there are certain things that we just know they simply don't work. Cloth masks do not work against variants. Gators, which is the cloth that people wrap around, or all the scarves, does not work. Surgical mask does not work for this variant. It works if you're going to have a distance from someone and just to be somewhat safe. But if you're really being if you're in a situation where you're going to be at high risk, and I do mean this, and I say this because airports are big concerns. Every time they show that
Mhm.
on the news, we kind of cringe in our clinic. Airports are a big deal. Anywhere where there's a mass, if there's a large group of people, if you're going to go to an event, I mean, I know it's hard to walk in with the N95 or KN95, but try going back to those original things that we were doing, the 6 feet, just keeping your distance, washing your hands frequently, doing everything you can do to be protective. And if you're eating, take your mask off, enjoy yourself. But if you can, create the distance, it's probably a good idea. For lots of reasons. And for that and some of the other things that we're seeing, it's just a good idea to try to keep the distance and to keep it from being political or making a stand. Just, wear the mask if you're going to be in those type of surroundings. And they've made the KN95s now to look a little sleeker so they don't look so obvious. So there's a way to be stylish and still be safe.
I want to thank you, Dr. Mosby, for that. I'm wondering, we are one of those very rare families where there's four in my core house. None of us have ever tested positive for COVID.
That's wonderful.
I don't know how. Everybody around us has had it. At this point, I'm thinking probably we had it and just didn't know, but our noses have been swabbed a combined 150 times between the four of us. We've done the at home, we've done the drive through. Do you think there's any truth to a lot of the rumors out there around blood type? Because we
That's
are
a
all the
good
same
question.
blood type, and my parents are as well, and they have not tested positive.
That's a good question. I think when this is all said and done, we're going to find so many patterns of people who have resistance. So, could blood type be an issue? Possibly. I think whenever they hint to something like that, it's because they've seen a trend in the CDC or somewhere where they're running these types, and they see these serotypes and notice that there's a pattern. So, when those rumors come out, it's because they've seen something in a trend. They don't want to ever substantiate it, because you imagine if you're A positive blood and you feel like you're immune, you're never going to put on a mask. And so we just don't, that's the reason that the conversation can't really go further. It's not because there's not any truth. It's just that we have a hard time isolating groups of people and saying that you're exempt from this virus. So because of that, we try to keep the message uniform and the same. But yes, I do think that we're going to find out not only blood type. I think there are going to be certain things that are just making some people never test positive. And I'll have it where just the other day I had a family of four. The mom said the whole family's had it twice. She's never had it. And she takes care of the children. And so she said, why am I resistant? She said, all my family got it at Easter. I mean, I just keep coming into circles where everyone has it but me. There, I think there's something to it. We just don't we don't really know exactly what it is. And it doesn't seem to have anything to do with the vaccination status like we originally thought, or which vaccine you received, because we do know that vaccinated patients get a lesser case. But unfortunately with BA.5, it's breaking through vaccinations as well. So we just don't know, but I think there is something to it. I think we'll find out a little bit more later. I always say we'll know everything about COVID in 5 years. And that's really
Hopefully so. Hopefully so. Dr. Mosby, I just have one more
hang on one second.
Sure.
Hang on one second, Erica. Erica, I know you got mommy duties, so thank you so much for joining us. Good luck in the volleyball game to Gracie, and we'll
and
look
she's
forward to
take care of
talking
my
to you
god kids.
Love you, sis. Bye.
Erica,
Love
nice
you
to meet
all.
you. Nice
Thank
to
you for
meet
having
you.
me. Such a pleasure to meet you, Dr. Mosby.
Thank you. Nice to meet you as well. Have a wonderful
Bye.
day. Bye-bye.
So, Erica, you had something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I just had just one more quick question for Dr. Mosby.
Sure.
It used to be about the droplets and them saying that the transmission of COVID came from the droplets from someone talking or speaking. Is that still the case, or with Omicron, it's airborne?
So it's airborne for sure. It's still about the droplets as well. So it's both. So I think, the biggest difference, and I'll kind of use an analogy because I think this may be the easiest way to explain it. When we started with the original Omicron, there was we had the 6 feet difference that we knew that the droplets would fall within a certain distance. And that was about 4 to 5 feet. So that's why 6 feet made a difference. I feel like we've gone on, and with every variant, it's spreading further and further, which means that you have to have more distance. So before, when the original variant could make it, you could do 6 feet apart. The second one, you need to go a little further. When Stealth and Omicron came, we knew that variant can spread out to 6 feet. So you need to really be 10 feet apart. And then with the new one, it went from, kind of a stream of a spray to a squirt of a spray to an aerosol spray. And now we're just at a spray can. This variant just hits, instead of it hitting a small group, it just hits the space, the whole room. So we don't really know, it's just, they seem to just spread further and further. And that's why the numbers grow so fast, because instead of it hitting one of the 4, or like it used to be 1 of 8, then it was 1 of 4, then it became 1 of 4, 1 of 2. Now it's just like, if you're in a room with COVID, the whole room is going to get COVID. And it's so hard now to figure out what do we do differently, because 6 feet is not enough. We just don't know. But also, we're not doing 6 feet anymore. That's the other thing, too.
That's the other thing. And we're not staying home as long. You mentioned
exactly right.
that part, too. And
right.
working this through our systems.
That's exactly right.
I know we have other questions about coronavirus, but there's one other issue I do want to talk to, and perhaps we can come back to coronavirus. I hate everything monkey. I don't like monkey. I don't like the monkey bars. I don't like monkey this. I don't like monkey see, monkey do. Yes. But I am very concerned about the monkeypox.
Yeah.
Yes. So monkeypox. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. So please tell us what it is, and should we be concerned about it?
That's a great question too. So yes, there is a need for concern. No, it's not. It's not as widespread as COVID. So I don't think this is gonna. I'm hoping it doesn't become a pandemic like COVID. We are starting to see it out. Certain outbreaks. I mean, before none of us were seeing it. We would kind of hear about it from other clinics. Now we've all seen it. I mean, I've seen 4 cases this week. So the reality of it is existing. It is there for sure. I do not think, and I'm hoping and praying that I don't think this is going to be widespread, because we're already coming up with vaccine strategies. And some of our previous treatments for smallpox works for monkeypox. So they're so close in similarity that this is not, even though it's new for the population, it's really not new in medicine, unlike COVID. This is something that they've already had to deal with. And I remember working through smallpox several years ago. So we've kind of dealt with this a little bit in the past, but just not to this extreme, and definitely not monkeypox specifically. But I don't think this is going to get so widespread that we all have to be on guard. That we have to worry about everyone in the household getting it, but it is spreading rapidly. And it's certainly, but the difference in this one is that you don't walk in a room and just get it. It does come through contact, which is different. And it is skin to skin contact or droplets. And when I say droplets, not just speaking, but actually handling bodily secretion. So sleeping in a bed where someone else has slept, or, coming in contact with the clothing that someone else has worn. And mostly because the pustules or the blisters on the body, they leak fluid. That fluid is contagious. So this is why we're seeing it so much through sexual contact. We are seeing it through a lot of homosexual males. And so, but it's not limited to that population, but that seems to be the population now that we're seeing it the most in.
Got it. And when they first came out and they were talking about it, being from raves and other sexual parties and things, especially over in Europe, and they were saying, so it seems seemingly among the homosexual population. And I said, I don't know about you, but I remember when it was just a gay disease, HIV and AIDS,
Absolutely.
and how that changed. And it is not just among, but as you say, it can be spread, just by the blisters and what have you.
That's right. And that's a great point, because now that it has been found in the gay community, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, that's not my issue." Right? We've seen this before. It is the issue because, number one, we have a fluid society. So just because you're this man is sleeping with a man doesn't mean he's not sleeping with a woman. Also, it's not just that. If you're coming in contact, you're staying at a friend's house, you're cuddling up with a friend, and you're giving someone a hug who has blisters, and you're not aware, then it's again skin to skin contact. So it could be a friend, it could be someone you're close to, someone you're caring for without knowing it. It's not going to come into the household to your grandmother who was laying in bed and just, that and went to the doctor. That's not how it's going to happen. It's going to happen truly with contact, sharing utensils with people who may have it, things that we just don't think about. So it is, it's not, and it's hard when we get the banner of a disease going under a certain population because the rest of the population turns their head. But this is something that's now getting into populations, heterosexual populations, even kids, because again, everyone is exposed. We're a small world. And we learned that if nothing else through COVID, everyone comes in contact with everyone. And that's what we're seeing.
Erica, did you want to say something?
Oh, I just had a quick question.
Sure.
I was just wondering, what are the symptoms of monkeypox aside from getting an actual blister? Are there symptoms that happen prior to that? And then also, what's the test if you don't have the blisters? Is there a blood test, or like COVID, we've got the swab?
Right.
What is it?
Great question. So as far as the symptoms look, unfortunately, just like COVID. Cough, runny nose, fever, chills, headache, muscle aches, back pain, swollen lymph nodes, fatigue. It's almost identical.
For me, I call that Monday.
Could be worse. Exactly. It looks like everything else we're looking for now. It looks like the flu. It looks like COVID. So we automatically end up testing for COVID and monkeypox, just so you know. So when it comes in with rash, we do both tests because they look so similar. The difference is the rash that appears once those symptoms start, within 3 to 5 days, you develop these blisters. And it doesn't have to be the picture you saw on TV. So it's not that you get these huge blisters all over the body. Most of the ones we're seeing are just a few on the waistline, or just, a couple of some around the genitalia, maybe a few on the back, or one on the thumb. So it doesn't have to be what you see, because eventually it will spread. But people are so hypersensitive right now. As soon as they get a rash, they're coming in. So we're not seeing those advanced cases, which is what the pictures on the news are. We're seeing the early stages where they have one sore on their thumb and they're going, what is that? So, but as far as the symptoms, the prodromal symptoms are all the flu-like symptoms. The fever, cough, chills, body aches, swollen lymph nodes, all of those symptoms that you see with flu and COVID.
And you said there's no vaccine.
The vaccine we have is the same vaccine, one of the vaccines that was similar to monkeypox. They have that vaccine available. They don't have a lot of cases. Last count, we had about 4,000. So that's the problem, is that we do not have widespread, vaccines for this. However, it can be easily manufactured and distributed. So it's already in production to get more. They're going to start vaccinating, just like COVID, the high-risk populations first, and then they'll spread it out to everyone else who wants it. But right now, it's just a matter of supply and demand, and we just don't have the supply right now to meet the demand. Now, as far as testing, the testing is when you have blisters. We don't have a way of testing if you don't have the sores, because we actually have to swab the lesions to send it off. So if you just have the COVID symptoms or the viral respiratory symptoms, we don't really have a way of testing you through blood or serum to see if it's monkeypox yet. I'm sure it's coming. We're just not there yet.
We have a lot more questions. Kels, did you have a question?
I just wanted to say real quick, and I'm looking at the comments, and people are really interested in hearing about this. But also, speaking of Kira, one thing that she does not like talking about monkey anything. But I'm glad that we're talking about this out loud and saying and telling people about it. One of the comments says it sounds a lot like vaginal herpes. I think we try to relate something to something else at all times, and it makes it easier for us to understand how we should be acting and how we should act accordingly. So thank you for sharing this information with us.
Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. And it looks a lot like vaginal herpes, which is always tricky for us because that's exactly what it looks like, or even penile herpes. So because we see that, again, we run tests. When we see it in clinic, we run tests for herpes, syphilis, COVID, as well as, and we do the swabs.
Wow. There's a whole panel of
There's a whole
testing.
panel.
Wow.
There's an entire panel. And if
we are
you've been in a
running-
sex party, we do run the other tests because we have a lot of patients who are coming in from sex parties.
Are they admitting
So
it?
They are. They are.
Good for
admitting it.
them. Okay.
They are admitting it. I think this has enough people afraid.
Right.
This has enough people afraid that they're literally coming in and saying, "Oh my God, I was at a sex party on Saturday." And here's the thing. Here's why I guess.
And as long as they're not your children's friends, you're feeling okay about it.
Exactly. I realize I'm very boring, like really, really boring. So I did not realize that sex parties were this common, to be totally honest, until this came up. So of course I'm like, where were you at a sex party? But
I don't know what they are. And maybe this is another show, but I don't.
That's another show.
I
didn't
never
know.
invited.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
That sounds like that's a different after school special.
It's a whole different show. But speaking of sex parties, I do want to close with a fun question. And Dr. Mosby, this is a question we were talking about the other night. What are you all doing for fun these days? Because as a part of our checking in and checking up for each other and on each other, our physical as well as our mental health is really important. So what are we doing for ourselves to have fun? What's your latest? What's that thing? And Dr. Mosby, you go first because I think a lot of people can relate to this.
So
because you work so much
on it. I do.
Yeah.
I do. And I have children and family and a husband. And, so I'm like everyone else. You're trying to keep the fires burning and keeping everything going. And somehow you think about fun, but it just doesn't quite hit the radar, but I'm working on it.
Fun?
I know my kids even said one day, "Mommy, did you used to have fun before we were born?" I'm like, that's a problem. So, I am working on it now. I'm saying earlier about investing in yourself and making sure you put your self-care, as a priority because your health is your wealth. And know that even on a plane, they tell you to put your oxygen mask on first before taking care of anyone else. That applies every single day. And that's true. So, I'm trying to do more fun things. Yesterday, for no reason at all, we went to a lake and just hung out. I love going to the beach. We went on a cruise this year. So I'm trying to forcefully integrate fun into my life. And I'm actually I've been challenged to come up with 2 hobbies by the end in the next month. So I have to at least try 2. So I'm going to try that.
And you're going to have fun, damn it.
I've got to have fun no matter what. And hanging out with family, of course, is always fun. That's probably my most fun is hanging out with
Absolutely. And can I just say, I'm sorry I keep referring to you as Dr. Taylor, but that's your beautiful daughter.
That is.
And will you tell people who your daughter is?
So my daughter is Taylor Mosby. She's an actress, and she's been in the industry for several years now. But she is an actress and soon to be, freshman in college. And I'm sad, and I'm working through that too. I'm about to have a baby gone away, but she has been in films like Thunder Force with Octavia Spencer, where she played her daughter in a superhero. She also was in the movie Breakthrough, where she actually sang the song. Her and Kirk Franklin sang the song Oceans, and she was able to sing the theme song for that movie. But she was also in the movie as well. And then she most notably has been on a show called The Last OG, where she plays the daughter, sometimes the potty mouth daughter of Tiffany Haddish and Tracy Morgan. So, and she's done that season. So we've been on that season for the last 4 seasons. And so that is actually what we just wrapped up doing.
Doc, that's awesome. That is so awesome. All right, young Kels, you're up. What are you doing for fun these days?
Well, 2 things. One,
in Alabama.
Down here in Alabama, I'm planning things. I'm making plans, which I haven't been doing for the last couple of years. So I have a trip planned to see my girlfriends in Dallas in a few weeks. They're gonna say it's like a month, but it's a few weeks. And I pre-pandemic, I was a moviegoer. I loved going to the theater. It was my thing. So my inaugural movie going back was Doctor Strange in the Multiverse. So I am going back to the movies, and then I'm also taking care of my family.
And Pepper is the perpetual youthful pooch who is how old?
Pepper will be 17 in November.
Oh my God!
But he doesn't know it. So
Oh, and is he a poodle? What's the breed?
He's a miniature poodle. Yes, he needs a
Oh.
haircut, so I can't show him too much. But he just insisted on sitting on my lap to talk. To
I
me.
had a baby. I had a poodle named Pepper who was gray like that for 16 years.
Oh, they're great.
Wow. Wow. And the iconic filmmaker, Erica Taylor.
Yes, I don't have any puppies named Pepper, but I for fun these days we just moved into a house with a pool in the back, so we
Congratulations.
had
Congratulations. That's
thank you.
awesome.
So yeah, I'm gonna be a couple shades darker the next time we talk, Sybil, because I'm gonna head outside to the sun, to the Texas sun, and get some sun and get in the pool. And then with Red Alert, we've been traveling. For everyone, the documentary is Red Alert: The Fight Against Fibroids. We are still filming, and we've been traveling so much. We're heading to Atlanta next week, and then New York, and just came back from New York. And so I sneak in a little bit of fun because my production assistant is my husband. See
There
how
you
that
go.
worked out.
There you go. Nice. Nice.
So
Nice.
we sneak in some mini vacations for 24 hours after we finish filming. So
That's awesome.
that's what we're doing. That's what I'm
That's
doing for
awesome.
fun.
She is check out Red Alert, the movie, Dr. Mosby, because Erica has taken what has happened in her life and made it her life's mission to talk about the impact of fibroids, and especially as they relate to Black women. And it's an amazing piece of work.
That is
so please check it out.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I've done a lot
Thank
of
you.
fibroids. That's fantastic.
Thank you. RedAlertMovie.com.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Ladies, I thank you so much for participating. I can't thank you enough. Dr. Mosby, thank you for joining our girlfriend group now. You're official.
So welcome. Thank you so much for having me. But Sybil, you didn't tell us what you were doing for fun.
I'm not doing a damn thing. No. You know what I do find is that like Kelly with dogs, and I find that I'm having fun. Like I dog sat yesterday with a reluctant pooch, but it lifts my spirits, and because I spend so much time with news, my nights are really with old TV shows and comedies and things like that. And also, like Kelly, I love going to the movies, and I have gone to one, and I hope to continue to bring that activity back into play in my life. So, and if somebody invites me over to their pool, that would be nice too.
Hey, listen. I've already got some bathing suits for you out back, Sybil.
Oh no, there won't be that. I'll just sit with a pair of cutoffs.
No, there's no sex parties happening here. Let me get off of here, Michelle. Y'all gonna give me a
Let me close out with our daily inspiration from Yogi's Jewels. The tongue is mighty. While it has no bones, it has the power to break a person's mind, will, and heart. Mm-hmm. Please be kind. You all have been kind enough to share with us today. Thank you so much. And once again, I just want to say to Brandon, we are here for you, and to your grandmother. And God bless you, Tonita Myers. Rest in peace. Thank you all so much. Thanks for joining us. Aloha.
Bye.